The blue wave that everyone was predicting, I think it crashed into Kansas. Kevin Yoder, the incumbent there, is down 10 points, which is insanity considering that district went for Trump in 2016. So we'll see what happens. It's likely that Douglas County will have different results than a lot of the rest of Kansas. Douglas County pretty blue, Topeka pretty blue, some of the eastern suburbs fairly blue, kind of purple. The rural Kansas usually deep red. So that's something we'll keep an eye on. We'll let you know how it's different here versus other counties. Greg Orman only had 3.52% of the vote. He was polling around 8%, so he had a huge drop-off. The treasurer of his campaign jumped ship with a week to go and said, you should all vote for Laura Kelly. So I think that may have helped, that may have played a role. The situation here, it is serious. The water is flowing extremely fast, as you can see, and there's also quite a lot of debris. Now, if the water rises another 6 inches or so, this whole area is going to become impassable. The rain isn't only affecting potential park goers, it's also affecting farmers, and I spoke to one of them earlier today. State Treasurer Ron Estes now holds the title of Congressman. Incumbent Jacob LaTurner, a Republican, may be looking for a similar promotion. But soybeans, they're way behind. 14% are in poor condition, and only 16% have made it into silos so far. That's about half of the usual average. Malik, Aksenia, we don't know which party will control the U.S. House of Representatives next session, but we do know that the Kansas 2nd and 3rd congressional districts will play a huge role. Democrats need to pick up 23 to take control of the House. The Cook Political Report rates 30 seats as highly competitive.
Many places will do it for a fee, but if you're looking for the free version, just head to the Burge Union. KU's Legal Services for Students makes it both easy and convenient to get your ballot notarized.
In a press release, the national headquarters said the suspension is a direct result of multiple health and safety violations. The headquarters also added that the local chapter failed to adhere to the national organization's standards and guidelines. According to conduct status reports published by KU, SAE had been on probation since January 31st for harm to persons and hazing. I called SAE's KU chapter president Michael Jeffries, but after I identified myself, he hung up the phone. Several other former members also declined to speak to me, though at least one member made his stance perfectly clear. Another member asked me to stop shooting pictures of the house without permission and threatened to call the police. The national headquarters says the suspension will remain in place until every current member has left the university. The headquarters also says they are optimistic the KU chapter would one day earn reinstatement.
Potatoes, we probably lost 60 to 70% of our Irish potatoes. Shallots, 100%. We planted spring green beans to be harvested in the fall. They were 100% loss.
The problem isn't unique. In September, Douglas County was under an emergency drought declaration. According to the USDA, today, only 43% of pastures receive a good condition rating. But now, with seemingly never-ending rain, Pendleton Farms has an entirely different kind of damage. Pendleton Farms relies heavily on people coming to pick their own vegetables. But with all the water, people are staying out of the fields. Pendleton says he expected hundreds of visitors to his farm for a festival last weekend, but barely anybody came.
I bet our numbers were down 60 to 70%.
Pendleton says the financial impact of the weather is catastrophic. He started farming over 30 years ago, but says this is the worst he's seen.
It was ridiculous hot during the summer, and then you throw in the drought on top of that, and that gave it the double whammy.
In Lawrence, Matt Hoffman, KUGH News. Back to you, Harold. We're a long way from the coast, but a blue wave may be coming to deep red Kansas. KU professor Burdett Loomis says if it can happen here, it can happen everywhere.
Paul Davis wins the 2nd district, Democrats will win the House. I mean, they could win the House without him, but if he wins, that's two red state districts that would have flipped if you assume that Yoder would lose.
The other race he's talking about is the Kansas 3rd district. According to the New York Times, Democrat Therese Davids leads Republican incumbent Kevin Yoder by 10 points. Even Steve Bannon says it's gone for the Republican.
What's fascinating is not so much the generic ballot, which is about 9% Democratic right now, but you see some races that you simply can't believe they're competitive.
Davids is the epitome of the blue wave. If elected, she'd be the first Native American congresswoman and the first lesbian elected from Kansas. As good as Democrats' chances are in the House, they're pretty bleak in the Senate. Polling indicates the Republicans are likely to retain control of the Senate and maybe even gain some seats. A divided Congress traditionally means cooperation with the president or total gridlock. We'll know the answers soon enough.